All right, we are officially live on Facebook.
Ah!
This is the next in our Talking at 12 series, and today we are going to be discussing vocal music and the vocal ensembles at Wichita State. So I am joined by Ryan Beacon, our Director of Choral Activities and new faculty member, completing his first year in some way, shape, or form, completing a year. Alan Held, who's our Director of Opera Studies, and Tom Wine, who you've met before, Director of Music Education and also Director of Choir as well. So thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Yeah. You didn't say how long Tom's been with us. Tom's older than dirt. He's been here longer.
Starting year 26. Yeah, forever.
Congratulations and my condolences.
And we have two new grandpas as well.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Alex doesn't look near that old. I mean, Alex, you don't look.
I'm getting my salt and pepper from this whole coronavirus. I'm aging like a president of the United States, I think. Well, all jokes aside, I wanted to spend today to talk a little bit about our prospective students and maybe even our current students, the vocal music program and the vocal ensembles at WSU. And we're going to talk about some different things today. We're going to talk about what it usually looks like, what the audition process looks like, and also what sort of COVID-19 choirs and opera look like. So I thought I'll just start with Ryan first, as the newest member of our faculty. We'll put you on the hot seat first. How many choral ensembles are there at WSU? And if I'm a prospective student, which one am I gonna be put in? And which one should I even be looking at?
Sure. So we have four choral ensembles at WSU: a cappella choir, concert chorale, woo choir, and madrigals singers. So the a cappella choir is a larger mixed chorus. Typically, I don't know, Dr. Wine, you conduct that. There's usually 70, 65, 75-ish students in there, all age ranges and all degree programs that you can imagine. In terms of music majors, tends to be first-year students that are for music majors, potentially upperclassmen as well. And then madrigal singers is a select small ensemble, 19-ish singers, primarily performing unaccompanied repertoire, sometimes accompanied repertoire, in a variety of styles and genres. A small chamber ensemble would be a way to view that. Then the woo choir is recently renamed. It was called Women's Glee Club. Now woo choir is a treble ensemble for treble voices, typically probably 30-ish students, potentially larger as we make some adjustments in that ensemble. Again, everything from non-majors to music majors, and we're kind of looking at making that kind of an intermediate level ensemble that perhaps a sophomore, junior student would move into that ensemble, that if they're a treble voiced singer. Then the concert chorale is 36, 37 singers, primarily upperclassmen and graduate students. Most are music majors, some are not. And that ensemble meets 4 times a week. Madrigals meets 4 times a week. The other ensembles, and a cappella also meets for 4 hours a week. And then the Glee woo choir meets 3 hours a week. Okay. In terms of auditions or how you're placed into that, what you should be looking at, one, you should look at perhaps what level of what type of experience you're looking for. Are you looking to be in a mixed ensemble that's larger with both treble and bass clef voices? Or are you hoping for an environment that's more a little more narrow, all treble voices, for example. To what extent you want to do a little bit more challenging repertoire or the style of repertoire that perhaps the Madrigal singers do. We also have a student-led ensemble that's called the Shacapellas, and they're contemporary a cappella group, as you would expect and anticipate.
Sort of like the movie Pitch Perfect.
Exactly.
If you're into
exactly.
that, which I am. And no barbershop choir at this time.
No barbershop at this point.
The four of us could do it. We could do it.
We've even got the
So Tom,
notice
really,
Alex did not sing. Notice that he did not jump in there.
I have a dirty little secret, which is I used to sing in a barbershop quartet in college. So
Beb Squad.
Yeah, they're not called that anymore, unfortunately. But I knew all the tags. It was great fun. Tom, Ryan had mentioned madrigals. I just want to talk about them for a second. So madrigals at some universities, that's the place with 8 to 10 singers, and we wear funny costumes and we sing Renaissance music. Is that what madrigals at WSU is, or is it?
Actually, that is the history of the group, Alex. That's how it started. It was developed to do a madrigal feast, which was a traditional Renaissance style dinner at Christmas time. And they had all of the costuming. And so that's the historical name of the program. Now, as different directors have taken over that ensemble, it's taken on a different life. What it has kept intact is that it's still a smaller ensemble. As Ryan said, it's always under 20. Since I've been doing it, is an unconducted ensemble, meaning while we rehearse together when they're on stage, they don't have a director. So they're very much student initiating in terms of how the performances work. And I would say that 80% of their repertoire is a cappella. So that's kind of what defines the genre of the ensemble. But in terms of what they are singing, they're singing everything that's within the last 5 years, from new composers to this last concert we did a tribute to Renaissance composers and did entirely repertoire that was from the Renaissance period, which would have been traditional madrigals.
Back when I was a student at WSU, we did those Renaissance feasts. And we got to wear those funny costumes. Of course, then it was contemporary music, because when I was a student, it was then the Renaissance.
Gesualdo was your
Exactly.
Well, Alan, since you weighed in, I wanted to talk to you. So that's a good overview of sort of the choral sound that's happening at WSU. But Alan, there's another opportunity for vocalists, and that's the opera program.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about what the opera program is like, and what a student might expect if they were to be involved in an opera?
Well, our programs work so well together because a lot of singing that happens in opera is choral. And that's one thing that I'm really very proud of, is how good our opera chorus has been the last few years. When we do our scenes program, it's amazing to hear them all singing together. There are many professional opera companies who would love to have the sound that our opera chorus does at WSU. But basically, I run this as much as I can like a traditional opera program, but we are an educational training program too. It's a place to try in a safe environment to be singing your first opera. When I was a student, I didn't see an opera till after I had been in 2 or 3 operas on the collegiate level. And then I saw my first operas. So it's a training thing, but it's a chance for people to try out roles. It's not the same thing as performing in your high school musicals. Acting has to occur over time. And in music, we have these long measures where you're singing one word that can go on for forever and ever and ever. You have to learn how to be able to act through all this kind of thing. So we generally do a fall concert opera. The last few years, this has been more of a contemporary opera. Last year, we did the North American premiere of a piece, which was fascinating for all of us.
Fantastic.
Then we do the scenes programs. We did in February this past year. This coming year, we may be doing 2 of them. And then we do a full production with costume, usually orchestra for all of our productions, our main productions, not our scenes programs. But this year may be different. Everything's changing. We don't know quite exactly. But we will be doing our bigger production is scheduled for April. And it's usually a more traditional opera title. But one thing I've insisted upon is that our singers sing. I mean, it doesn't do any good to go to a university where you sit in the background and watch. And so through using the scenes programs, everybody gets to sing solo lines, everybody sings choral lines, and then we get into our productions where we have our auditions usually very early in the year, and then a second round of auditions later. Everybody has opportunities to sing. So I don't want undergraduates finishing their 4 years at Wichita State and say, gee, now I've got to go audition for a graduate program and I've never sung a role. I mean, that seems silly to me. I think we're not doing anybody a service if we do that.
I think, we are a program that is unique in the country. I mean, there are a few like us where we have a very strong graduate program, yet our undergraduates are not left to the sidelines to just in the chorus. We have plenty of our undergrads have a role, do a role, maybe not always the main role, a smaller role, but almost, everyone who wants to go on to graduate work in opera performance has had some experience, whether it's in the scenes program or in the main stage productions.
And it's not just right. And it's not just the performance students. We have a lot of music education students who are in our opera program as well. And I encourage that. My degree is in music education. Opera singing just kind of got in the way. But I think it's important for music education students, if they have the time and the opportunity, to take part in it as well, because they're going to be leading high school musicals. They're going to be involved in these things. And so they need to have some of that skill as well. And I'm really thrilled that, especially during the scenes programs, they become my favorite performances of the year, is that everybody's doing something.
Yeah. So I want to change the subject slightly. So I'm a prospective student. I'm coming to WSU next fall. I've got my acceptance letter. I'm pumped. Now I have to audition. So what does the audition process for the choirs specifically look like? And I'll turn that over to you, Ryan, if you want to talk about that.
Sure. One, it's super non-threatening and very relaxed and laid back. I wouldn't even call it an audition so much as a placement. I think that the important thing for people to realize is, if you want to sing at WSU, it doesn't matter what your degree program is, what your schedule looks like, there is an opportunity and a place in our program for you to sing, and no one's going to be turned away. You're going to be able to sing in an ensemble, and we're going to have a place for you. So when we meet in the fall together, for example, for our placement, really all we're doing is setting up a schedule the Friday before classes start and the first couple days of the semester, where we're just hearing and meeting all of the potential singers, all of the people who are interested in singing, listening to your range, having you sing anything that you might know. It could be Happy Birthday. It could be My Country 'Tis of Thee, just a little snippet of anything that you might know. And then we discuss together where the best options and opportunities are for you to grow as a singer and as an artist, and build the community and be a part of the community that you want to be a part of. So very non-threatening. It's a placement, and there is a place for everybody.
So if I'm a student, I don't have to worry about singing in Italian and French and German and all of that for choir. Or is there any sight reading as part of the audition?
We've done some sight reading just to get a sense of where people are at. Again, it's just looking at you as a whole musician and as a whole human, and what of our ensembles is the best fit for you, for where you're at musically, etc. So a little sight reading, but we're not going to ask you to sing in French or Italian or something really, potentially intimidating or scary during that placement. We might experience that kind of repertoire together in our ensembles, but certainly not during the placement. Very laid back, very easy. It's really an opportunity for us just to get to see people and meet people and figure out where the best fit is.
Yeah. So Alan, what's it like if I want to audition for the opera?
We hold our first round of auditions because we have so many new students that come every year, and we don't think it's fair that everybody who haven't even met with their teacher yet, has to audition and then be considered for the whole year. So what we usually do is we have a first round of auditions that starts the second and third day of school usually, and people come in the hall and they sing a piece of their choosing. Sometimes they can choose a piece, and I will announce later this summer what our repertoire will be for the year. They sometimes sing an aria, or they sing not necessarily an aria, but something indicative of that composer for their audition, and then we cast everybody. But then what I've started doing the last couple of years is having a second round of auditions either in October or early November, once students have had a chance to work with their faculty member and for the spring shows, and then we work on the scenes and everything out of that too. So we have two different rounds, giving most the people, and we have people from music theater audition for us. We've used a lot of music theater students in our operas. We have people who are non-music majors entirely in the operas. So and I know the choir guys do as well. And I think it's important. I mean, we're a university. Everybody's involved in singing. I mean, singing is the first, since the first caveman came out and went, ugh. I mean, we're the first music. If you said if you were auditioning, Alex, that's what I expect.
I've got a good ugh, which is both the sound you will make after my audition.
We have a role for you.
Vocal percussion.
Alan, just because you sort of brought up music theater, I just want to make sure. So I know if I'm auditioning for the music theater show, the musical, right, which our students could also audition for.
Absolutely. And they do all the time. They do all the time.
Sometimes they have you read a monologue, do a dance call. Is that the case for opera? Do I have to be able to act or dance or sing or anything?
No. I specialize in people who don't act. No, that's part of our mission. We're to help you train and to become better, sometimes if we were doing a show, and this can happen, where if we were doing a show that had dialogue, for example, we may have people read some lines, that kind of thing, to make sure that that's possible. But you got some seasoned professionals. We know what we're listening to and what people can do. So it's just usually a vocal audition, and I usually don't even have to have callbacks. So
are there language requirements for the opera audition? Like if the opera is going to be in German, do I have to have prepared a German song? Or
I prefer that. It doesn't always happen. Let's say if somebody comes in and they want to audition and the opera was in German and they didn't sing anything in German, well, they're probably not going to get cast in one of the major roles. Okay, sure. They could still be in the chorus, no problem with that, and maybe we'll move them into something. But and some people don't feel comfortable singing in foreign languages, and that's fine. For an audition, they'll allow us to teach them as the rehearsal progress goes on. And that's fine. I don't mind that at all. Not everybody wants to sing a large role; they just want to participate, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
So, Tom, Alan and Ryan have both sort of broached this, but I thought I would turn it over to you. We've talked a lot about the majors, music majors, and how they're involved, but there's also non-majors, and you conduct one of the largest ensembles that include non-majors, a cappella. It's a fair mix of sort of majors and some non-majors. Could you talk about non-major involvement in the choirs?
Well, as Ryan mentioned, a cappella choir averages anywhere between 70 and we've had as many as 95 in that group. But traditionally, over a third of that is made up of students who are not music majors, who are coming to WSU in engineering or health professions, and they just love to sing. And they were involved in high school choir and want to continue that experience at the university level. And we're just thrilled to have them. As Dr. Beacon said, we want to find a home for you. If you want to sing, regardless of major, we want to have you here. Now, that doesn't mean our expectations are lower because you're not a music major. When you come in, you're going to have to put in the time and learn how to do the repertoire. And you're entering ensembles that have all achieved some level of performance criteria at a state level or at a regional level. And so you're entering a program that has those high expectations. But if you want to sing, we're going to help you get there.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note, is that we're a school of music that really desires non-music majors to be a part of our community, and this is true of all of our ensembles. And one of the things that, this came out in the instrumental ensemble directors talking at 12 we did on Tuesday, but I think it's important to reiterate here, which is that we have had on occasion a student in another college have their advisor say, oh, you can't sing in that group, or you can't play in that group because you're not a music major. And that is A, totally not true. and B, lots of the degrees around the university have electives in their degree, and our ensembles and lessons as well. That's the other thing. So if you're in an ensemble as a non-major, you also have an opportunity to take lessons, with for non-majors, it would be with our graduate students. But there's opportunities to take lessons as well. And all of that can count towards your degree with electives. Dr. Wine?
I just came out of a meeting for orientation for incoming freshmen. And one of the things that they stress is getting involved in other organizations at WSU, and the cross-pollination that happens in our music ensembles. For many of our students who are outside of music, this is their involvement in an organization at WSU. It's where they get to meet students from every major, get to be involved in activities that go all the way across campus. It is like the ideal student group to come into WSU, meet people, get engaged, get involved, and get a feel for how campus works.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's really important, and we love to have non-majors, and there's no special audition to be to be a non-major at the School of Music. You just have to show up for your placement, as Dr. Beacon said. So Ryan, we're just gonna keep going round robin. Ryan, I was wondering if you could talk about, forget COVID-19 for a second, a traditional year, a more regular year. Students who did a high school choir may have performed like one concert a semester, spent their whole semester working towards that one concert. Is that what choir at our university looks like, or what does a regular sort of choral season look like?
Sure. On a baseline level, each ensemble typically is performing a couple of concerts each semester, one kind of near that halfway point in mid-October, perhaps, and then another one near the end of the semester. And for us in the choral area, that has often been in October. We have a concert where 2 choirs perform one day and 2 choirs perform another day. And we often will have guest ensembles. We had choirs from Andover and Goddard and a variety of different schools who came and collaborated with us for our concerts. And those concerts are typically just a real varied kind of repertoire. Sometimes maybe we'll do something thematic and whatnot, but often it's just kind of a collage of music that all of the ensembles have prepared. And they might last 90 minutes tops for those concerts. And then in December, we produce a candlelight program, which has been a fantastic tradition for almost 60 years at WSU. It's the largest concert that the School of Music produces. We have 3 sellout performances every year, and that's typically all holiday oriented kind of a concert. It's something that the students and faculty and community very much look forward to. And in the spring semester, again, we'll do some kind of a concert mid-February, early March that could be thematic, might be relating to a special event that's happening on campus, or again, just kind of a collage of repertoire. And then at the end of the semester in the spring, typically the choirs and the orchestra, or perhaps the choirs and one of the bands on campus, do some type of a collaboration to do a larger scale work, maybe a piece that is famous in music history or that's by a famous composer, and might be 60 to 90 minutes kind of long in length by itself. And that's called our oratorio concert. This has been its traditional name. And that typically happens around the last week of the spring semester. So on a baseline level, that's what you can expect. There's also potential special events that we are performing at, whether that's something as simple as singing the national anthem at an athletic event, or doing some kind of a special concert in the community. I know Dr. Wine took the Madrigal singers out for some special concerts in the community last fall. We might have a special collaboration project that we're working on, or a tour or something like that is also potentially extra things that we might do or be involved in. But on a baseline level, at least a couple of concerts each semester.
I'm going to throw us out of order for a second. I'm going to jump to Tom, because this May, a couple of weeks ago, I think, I don't know, time has ceased to exist. This weekend, yeah, that's right. Today, actually, we should have been on an airplane with about 30-ish of our students flying to New York to perform at Carnegie Hall with our choirs. That unfortunately was canceled and rescheduled. But the good news is, if all goes well, next year our choirs will be going to Carnegie Hall. And Tom, I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about that. And also, if I'm a prospective student or even I'm a returning student, is that something I can get in on?
Absolutely. So that's, as you said, huge disappointment. This was the weekend we were going. Performance was scheduled for Saturday night. And so we'll be singing on June 5th of 2021. And students who have already paid to go will have the opportunity to go on that trip. That's already paid for, but we will open it up to students again in the fall for students who would like to get involved with that trip, and it'll be a similar format. The great thing about going to Carnegie Hall is not just Carnegie Hall, it's New York. The art scene that's there in terms of music theater, in terms of opera, in terms of dance, in terms of museums. It's just wonderful cultural experience. And then you walk out on the stage at Carnegie Hall and wow, you realize it is special. It's one of those oftentimes once in a lifetime experience. And so hopefully our students will again have that opportunity to do that. So thanks for giving a shout out there.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. You know, I've had the amazing fortune. I've played on the stage of Carnegie Hall, and I've had my music performed twice at Weill Hall, which is in the smaller hall in Carnegie. And yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, it really is. It's such an amazing space. And I remember, I'll tell this quick story. I was out of rehearsal. There was a new music ensemble doing a work of mine in Weill Hall, and so we were doing the rehearsal. And the rehearsal got finished a little early, so I went up on stage and the piano was out there, and I thought, well, I want to see what a Carnegie Hall piano plays like. I got news for you. It plays like a Carnegie Hall piano. It's pretty darn cool. So yeah, and that's an opportunity for any of our students and non-majors and majors again, who want to go and be a part of this. So I would just say, if you're interested in singing at Carnegie Hall with our choirs, with our choral students next June, Tom Wine, just drop him an email. It's is it tom.wine or tom.wine@wichita.edu, and we'd love to have you join us and be a part of it. And it's not as much as the experience of singing there is great. You're absolutely right. It's just being in New York City. And you know, and the culture and the community there, and you know, for some of our students who have never even left Kansas, it's really special. So
they do, the audiences are incredible at Carnegie Hall. I've done two concerts there, and a couple of years ago, or several years ago now, we did a performance of Peter Grimes with the St. Louis Symphony in St. Louis, and then we took it the following week to Carnegie Hall to perform it. And we thought it was special in St. Louis, but doing it at Carnegie Hall was something else. It was amazing.
Yeah. So now, in the last sort of few minutes of our time together, I thought with everything that's going on, we should talk a little bit about what we're planning for concerts, at least for the fall, for all of our ensembles. And I think the one thing that I would just preface all of this with is that I think all of our ensemble directors have 4 or 5 different versions and contingencies based on, we're trying to be proactive in our planning so that we can provide the best experience possible, but also not make a permanent decision and then find out something has dramatically changed. So I thought I'd start with you, Alan, and the opera program and some of the things you're considering, knowing that this is not a verbal contract, nor is it written in stone, and so things may change. But what are some thoughts going through your mind right now?
Well, one luxury I have as opera director is that we have over 400 years of history to draw upon, so I can switch things in and out pretty quickly. We're not going to be doing Wagner, but we can do many different things. I can arrange programs that are small, more of a chamber situation. I can do large chorus things. I can do small scenes. I can do large scenes. We can do many different things. And so we're considering, right, another thing that's it's a little unique to us. There's very few schools that have this. Is not only am I director of opera at Wichita State, but I'm also the artistic and general director of the Wichita Grand Opera. So I am trying to find multiple venues, multiple things that we can possibly offer our students, because the Grand Opera here in Wichita needs bodies as well to sing performances and to sing. And we have many things that we're trying to plan as far as galas and all that we could plug in people. But primarily, we're looking to do a concert opera, maybe very early in the semester. We may be doing some of our Così fan tutte that we unfortunately did not get to perform this past spring because of the COVID crisis. So we may be doing that in performance, and we're thinking about even using a unique venue. That's being worked out. Then we will do a scenes program. As of right now, we'll be doing a large scenes program in November that will primarily be a little bit more in-depth study than our normal scenes program is, which is in February, which would be our second scenes program in February, and then again, the larger production in April. As of right now, those are the plans that I'm going with. Repertoire is still being worked out because I want to see what we're allowed to do as far as venue space and what the personnel. That's another thing with the opera. I can't plan repertoire completely unless I know exactly who's going to be involved. That's a big difference. That's one reason we hold the auditions. The repertoire will be chosen before then we plug things in, but I need to know the interest of who's going to be involved and all through the gamut too. So typically our graduate students get to do more in the fall, and undergraduates get to plug in more in the spring too. So there's a lot of different, like you said, there's a gazillion different plans in place.
Yeah. Ryan, I'll turn it over to you for the choirs. What are some of the thoughts that you guys are sort of playing around with?
Yeah, well, one, I think it's important for us to try to think about what is it that we love, value, and appreciate about choral singing and about being in an ensemble. And I think what people appreciate is, of course, an opportunity for artistic expression, to musically grow and be challenged and be artistic, and all of those things that we might expect, and to perform. And also there's a sense of community that people really strive for and appreciate about being in an ensemble. And so in our thinking, we're trying to figure out how can we preserve those ideas regardless of the circumstance that we might find ourselves in. So different thoughts that we've been tossing around are ways that we can build upon this collaboration of what an ensemble is, and how can we maybe use our current circumstance to do something that's creative, and that maybe also isn't the same thing that everybody else is doing at the same time. And so one idea that has been tossed around is maybe to engage a broader university community, and maybe we have poets on campus, and those poets can write some poetry that's reflective of a certain theme that perhaps has to do with what the situation that we find ourselves in. And we have a variety of composers, both faculty and students. And maybe we can select some poems and then have our composers compose them, and then our choirs can learn and produce those pieces of repertoire, and then present it in some kind creative way that still allows us to be artistic and perform and develop relationships and all of those things that we value. So that's an kind of idea that's being tossed around. We could do regular concerts and perform in an auditorium and have it live streamed. There's lots of options there, but we're first and foremost trying to figure out how to preserve, love, and appreciate about choral singing, and regardless of the circumstance we find ourselves in, be able to move forward in that way.
Yeah, I guess the last thing that I'll just say as the director of the school is that I think it's really important for prospective students, parents, and even returning students to know that all the decisions that we are making are going to be based around the best. We're going to make the best decisions possible with the health and safety of our students being the top priority, and that's what we're always going to be making our decisions around. And we're going to use guidance from CDC and medical experts, and there's a lot of conversation, especially right now, around how the voice and choral activities are going to continue on before a vaccination or treatment's been discovered, because it turns out singers are gross, and you spread.
Not as gross as flute players, though.
Well, yeah, that's right. I will tell you, I was reading a study that was done a couple of years ago about droplets in speaking voices, and my wife, who's also a singer, was reading it with me, and she said, so my takeaway from this study is that it's more dangerous for me to sing at you than to sneeze on you. And I said, yeah, I guess. So I think we're all sort of being we're being thoughtful and cautious and optimistic about what it can be, and what I think the focus for every interaction in the School of Music is how can we hold to the values and things that are so important about our disciplines, at the same time protecting our students, protecting our faculty, and protecting our staff.
But I think this is advice that we do all the time. This is not just during the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
We, all of us are parents. All of us are singers. Well, Alex, you're not, but we're singers. I can't tell you how many times that I think about the safety issues of every singer at all times, because we're responsible in many ways to create, but we're also responsible to our art form. We're responsible to what we're creating, and we are probably the most creative school in the entire university. And it's incumbent upon us to find ways to keep what we do going, because when all of this is over, people are going to turn to the arts. Yeah. They're going to turn to what we do, because we've got to feed the spirit just as much as anything else.
So there was a really interesting article that just came out a day or two ago that one of the things we've discovered because of COVID-19 is that a lot of people right now are already turning to the arts and watching, the amount of music that's being consumed, and not just music, but classical music and vocal, classical music, whatever that means, but is at an all-time high. And so, it's really helped to sort of bust this myth that, this art form that we're a part of is dead and outdated. It's
never
not.
was.
It
never was.
Well, the thing that I always like to say is that if you read the literature of the time, the orchestra has been dying since the day it started. There's always been people saying the orchestra's going away. So we'll be around for a long time, and I think we're like any tradition. Our art form is just keeps evolving, and it doesn't look the way it looked 200 years ago.
Right.
It won't look the same 10 years from now, but it doesn't go away, and it's still vital. So with that, I want to thank all three of you for your time. If you're interested in joining a choir, email Ryan Beacon at ryan.beacon, BEEKEN, at wichita.edu. If you're interested in participating in the opera program, you can email Alan Held at alan.held@wichita.edu. if you're interested in going to Carnegie Hall, tom.wine@wichita.edu. And, or if you're interested in, also I should, Tom, as head of music ed, if you're one of those people who's thinking about vocal music education, tom.wine@wichita.edu. And don't email me, because I don't have answers for you. So I'm very blessed to have such great colleagues in the vocal area and our vocal ensemble. So thank you guys thanks for your time.
Thanks, Alex.
And I
guys.
hope to see you in person soon. So
Yeah.
with that said, have a great summer.